Kylian Mbappe, 2-0. Ceballos, and here's Mbappe! He's hooked it in. Real Madrid are on terms.
42 goals, no real system, no real support, just Kylian Mbappe dragging Madrid week after week with pure talent. At Madrid it was clashing roles, confusing tactics and a system that didn't fit. Bellingham constantly adapting his position and Ancelotti trying to make it all fit without a proper structure. It was a team full of individual brilliance but not much tactical cohesion. And still, Mbappe delivered week in, week out. He didn't wait for the system to be fixed, he didn't wait for chemistry to magically appear, he did what world-class players do. He imposed himself, whether he was starting wide, in La Liga, in the Champions League, in big games and small ones, he showed up. He wasn't just Madrid's top scorer, he was the difference between struggling and surviving in key matches. There were games where Madrid had no rhythm, no control, and Mbappe bailed them out with a moment of pace, power or clinical finishing. That's what made the 42 goals even more impressive. It wasn't just the number, it was the context. No clear system, no real striker's role is built just for him, no consistent supply line, and yet he did what top-level players are supposed to do. He made it happen anyway. And if he could rely on, Ancelotti tried to squeeze as much talent as he could onto the pitch, but it all came at the cost of balance. He had Mbappe, Vinicius, Rodrigo and Bellingham all trying to occupy similar spaces in the final third. The midfield was solid, but the build-up felt disconnected from the attack. The wide areas were overused, the central channels weren't controlled. Defensively, they were relying too heavy on individual recoveries. Mbappe's role kept changing. Sometimes he was central, sometimes wide, sometimes he was expected to press high, other times to drop deep. He adjusted, yes, but it wasn't efficient and it wasn't sustainable. There were long stretches of the season where Madrid looked more like a collection of elite players than each other's toes, especially Mbappe and Vinicius. Both wanted to attack from the left, both relied on the freedom to create, but under Ancelotti there was no tactical framework to solve that overlap. And when you're at the level Madrid operates on, that kind of confusion catches up to you, especially in big games. The lack of a system meant that everything had to come from individual brilliance. There was no rhythm, no automatisms, no patterns of play that made the attack feel fluid. It's not about blaming the players, it's about structure, because even the best players in the world need a system to elevate them. And last season, Madrid just didn't have that. Sheen and Vinicius creating chaos, but no tactical base tying it all together. And that's why this next phase under Xabi Alonso is such a massive turning point. Because Madrid doesn't just need talent, they need a system that actually makes the most of it. Last season at Bayer Leverkusen, Xabi didn't just put together a good team, he built a tactical system that made every player better. And the biggest proof of that? Victor Boniface. Boniface wasn't a global name before Xabi took over, but under Alonso he became one of the most effective and complete strikers in Europe. Why? Because every single part of Xabi's system was designed to create space, overload zones and get the ball to the striker in dangerous areas. Boniface wasn't scoring tap-ins, he was involved in pressing, link-up play, third-man movements and final execution. His job was clever, the system played to his strengths. Alonso's 3-4-2-1, or more accurately, his constantly shifting shape, was never static. On paper, it looked like a 3-2-4-1, but in game, depending on the opponent and the phase of play, it morphed into an asymmetric 4-2-4, a 3-2-5 or even a 5-2-3 out of possession. It was fluid, but always calculated. In build-up, Alonso used circular rotations, a series of coordinated movements that manipulated pressing traps. He'd attract pressure to one side of the pitch, then rotate the ball quickly to the other side using third-man runs, opening massive pockets of space. And right in the middle of those pockets, Boniface. When teams pressed high, Alonso used positional play to invite pressure, only to spring counters using clever passing patterns. When teams sat deep, he overloaded one flank with 5 or 6 players, forcing defenders to shift before switching to the weak side. Boniface's role in all of this was crucial. He pinned defenders back, drew markers, and acted as the final outlet once the space opened up. But it wasn't just attacking. Boniface was also Xabi's first line of defense. He pressed from the front, cut passing lanes, and was constantly involved in transitions. His physicality and work rate made the system function both ways. Now take everything Boniface did and hand it to a player with elite pace, sharper instincts, and world-class finishing. That's what Real Madrid is getting with Mbappe. Are on another level. In the attacking phase, Alonso's team shifts into a 3-2-5 shape. The wide players push up, the pivots support from behind, and the entire front five moves in synchronization. This is where Mbappe thrives, in a line of 5 attackers, constantly interchanging, pulling defenders and finding the half spaces. Boniface used this to score and assist freely. Mbappe will use it to dominate. In transition, Alonso's system doesn't just rely on instinct, it manipulates the opposition into overcommitting, then hits them with a perfectly timed. This isn't speculation, we've already seen it work with Boniface, a strong, fast striker who wasn't world-class but looked unstoppable because the system elevated him. Now take that same system and give it to Kylian Mbappe, who's already scoring 42 goals without it. This isn't just about tactics, this is about a player-coach pairing that fits perfectly. Xabi Alonso gives structure, Mbappe brings chaos transitions. Xabi Alonso doesn't play reactive football, he manipulates opponents into pressing and then punishes them for it. Boniface thrived in this system at Leverkusen, not because he was doing anything extraordinary, but because Alonso's structure consistently put him in positions to succeed. The midfielders would lure the press, release the ball at the perfect moment, and suddenly Boniface would be running into acres of space with the back line scattered. Now imagine that setup but with Mbappe. Faster, more explosive, and a far better finisher. Even in settled possession, Alonso's team becomes a 3-2-5. The 2 wide forwards or attacking midfielders tuck into play. The most important thing here, though, is that this system solves the biggest problem from last season: role clashes. Under Ancelotti, Mbappe and Vinicius often operated in the same zones. They both wanted to start wide left, cut in, and take control of the same vertical channels. That overlap led to disjointed movements and reduced the effectiveness of both. But under Alonso, the roles are clearly defined. If Vinicius is used as one of the attacking midfielders, his position will be more central or deeper. If he's used as a waiting effect, and with him at the tip of it all, that machine might just be unstoppable. He scored 42 goals this season in a dysfunctional Real Madrid. Now think of a functional one. The thought of that should make you much more scared. But what do you think he can perform at a higher level next season? Well, let me know, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out our last video on the weakness of Xabi Alonso. Thank you.